Friends, today is Wednesday, the 2nd of September. It's a beautiful day once again. It's going to be a very warm day, up to 90 degrees, but that's the way I like it. I don't like to give up summer. I'll hold on to summer as long as we can. Maybe 90 is a little warm, but in any case, the sun is out, and that's always good for me. We continue today the Gospel of Luke. We've been reading kind of continuously from the 4th chapter, one verse after another for the last 3 days. It's the fourth chapter, the beginning of the public ministry of Jesus, a public ministry that began at the synagogue in Nazareth. And in today's reading, in today's gospel, Jesus restates his mission. And that is, I must proclaim the good news of the kingdom. For this purpose I have been sent. Proclaim the good news of the kingdom. You know, I've said before that if you ask yourself or someone, what is the central message of Jesus? Many people would say, well, love your neighbor, this and that, and all that is fine and good. But really the central message of Jesus is the kingdom that has broken into the world in power in the person of Jesus. And Luke shows us that in the very beginning here of the public ministry of Jesus. We recall at the synagogue at Nazareth, he unrolled the scroll of the prophet Isaiah that said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because the Lord has anointed me to bring glad tidings to the poor, liberty to captives. And Jesus shows that in power, not just words, although the words, of course, are powerful enough. People were astonished at his words. But we see in power, through miracles, that kingdom has broken into the world. Something is different. Something is new. Yesterday in the synagogue at Capernaum, he expelled a demon from a man. And what the word, he rebuked that demon, and the demon came out of him. Freedom. Freeing captives from their bondage of demons. And today, a different kind of bondage and freedom from sickness. Sickness, of course, a healing miracle, a little different from a demonic expulsion. But yet they both have to do with being free. You know, sickness and death, which was often the result of sickness in the ancient world, no hospitals, no doctors, and so on. Jesus has come for life, and any sickness leading to death, or just any sickness, is part of that bondage from which we are freed. And the words that are used, Jesus, in healing the mother-in-law of Peter, we find out that Peter was married here, had a mother-in-law. And his family, the family of Peter, intervenes with Jesus. And Jesus, of course, is ready and willing to assist. We have to remember here that Peter was not yet a disciple, but he believed in the power of Jesus. We'll get the call of Peter in the next chapter. But they asked Jesus to come to the mother-in-law who was ill. He stood over her, the gospel says, rebuked the fever, the same word used for the expulsion of demons, and it left her. Rebuked. Illness, part of that bondage we suffer in this human life. Jesus has come to heal and to free us. And it says that she immediately got up. The word that is used there is rose. She rose, and it's the same word that is used of the resurrection of Jesus. That Jesus brings life to us now. Life. Risen. We are risen. Life now with the Lord. And interestingly, it says that she waited on them. The result of this life, the gratitude, is shown in service. When the Lord brings life and gives us life, our gratitude shows itself in service to each other. A beautiful example here in the gospel. After that, it said that at sunset, all who had people sick with various diseases brought them to him. At sunset. Why sunset? Because it was the Sabbath, and they could not carry their sick to Jesus. That was prohibited on the Sabbath. When the Sabbath was over, one can only imagine the stream of people coming to Jesus with the sick, for whom there was no cure, no healing. And yet, this man comes upon the scene with this message of life and freedom from bondage, the bondage of sin, the bondage of death, the bondage of sickness and demons and whatever else. And it says that he laid his hands on each of them, and cured them. All who came to Jesus. Not every scene in the gospel do we have the fact that Jesus cures everyone who comes to him, but here it is true. It says he lays his hands on each of them, a personal touch to each one, and cured them. And demons also came out from many, and so on. And so as Jesus goes about his preaching and evangelizing, we ask ourselves, do we need evangelization today, the same preaching and power of the kingdom? And statistics would tell us, yes. I'm told, I haven't seen the numbers, but I think it's true, there are more former Catholics, former practicing Catholics than practicing Catholics today. A lot of millennials who know nothing of the church. Is evangelization needed? Well, the answer, of course, is yes. You know, when Pope Paul VI, St. Paul VI, and St. John Paul II, both of them spoke of evangelization in the world, and that was a new word for Catholics. We didn't use the word evangelization, evangelist. Billy Graham, for example, was an evangelist, but we're Catholics. Our bishops are not evangelists. Our priests are not evangelists. We don't use that word. But through these two great popes, the word has come into and reminded us that the very mission of the church is to evangelize, to get out there and preach the gospel, whether accepted or not, evangelization. Because what is the church? What is the church? A very simple answer is the continuation of the mission of Jesus. The church exists to continue the mission of Jesus. And that mission is to preach the gospel, to live the gospel. Whether that gospel is accepted or not. And we live in a world in which the gospel right now, well, not a whole lot of response to it. But Jesus gives us a good example here. He was rejected at Nazareth after he made his inaugural address, his mission statement. They were going to throw him over the hill. He moved on to Capernaum, continues to preach. The message is preached whether it is accepted or rejected. We just keep going, keep moving, keep preaching. Because ultimately that seed is planted, and it's the work of God. It's not our work, it's the work of God. To preach and to live the gospel, to preach the gospel with our lives. You know, was that line of St. Francis about preach the gospel occasionally with words, but to live it in our lives. And that's the message for today, and we'll see where it takes us tomorrow. Have a great day, keep cool, and we'll see you tomorrow.